this is the body that came in today with everything that you want to ignore when you get to the gym. The fact that you've been sick or you're stressed at work or you haven't had much sleep, all of these things are very real. But the fact is that you are making time. You showed up, you came in, and whatever movement that you could get in today is good, great enough, perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey. What did we both go with the side part?
I know I was going to say that when we first came on, go with the side part today. The Gen Z would be so disappointed.
Wait, I think that it's oh yeah, Gen Z. But then
Yeah.
the one after them. What's the one after them?
I feel like the one after them got
Younger,
a cool
because
name.
they're old now.
you
Gen
can't
Z.
call Gen Z old.
Yeah, they're out. They're not making the fashion rules anymore. It's the new one. What's the new one?
I can't remember. Isn't it
my
such a
God.
cool name, though?
Is it Alpha?
I think it's Alpha because I remember being like, damn, they got the coolest one.
Yeah. Gen Z's out, Alpha's in. So I'm just listening to what Alpha says is cool, and
Alpha brought it
they're
back.
bringing it, And maybe we can get that editors play that clip of the guy. Remember the girl that came on, the Gen Zer? She came on and told us we all needed center parts.
Yes.
And she was like, "Let me just see you with your center part. It will be so much better." And then remember the guy.
He lives rent-free in my mind because he has this like wonderful little like side swipe, like he looks like an Abercrombie model,
So
and then
handsome.
he middle parts and he looks like one of that like shoot, what's that guy's name? He's like, he wears like suspenders and he like slicks
Pee Wee
his
Herman.
Pee Wee Herman. And he looks like Pee Wee Herman. And you're like, what? And he's like, okay.
We need a clip of that. He literally lives rent free in my head. Every time I'm like, which way should I part my hair? I just think of him.
I do too.
Whatever. I've stopped trying to be cool because it's well-known fact that the millennials are like literally yesterday's news. They're the aunties, they're the old ladies. So no one cares what they're doing. And so I feel like a lot of pressure is lifted. No one cares what I'm doing.
I disagree. I feel like the millennials have really just continue to pave the way to be like, oh, or you're in your 30s and 40s, but you are still hot shit. Like, it's just, that's never happened before. Like, we're still killing it. That's how I feel.
says we. We say we're still killing it.
Listen,
we don't care what anybody else
says. It's all about
says.
perception.
Yeah.
It's all about perception. The only reality is the one that I keep telling myself. It's the one that I believe.
We're slaying.
I'm saying we're slaying.
We're slaying millennials. We're unlike any other generation. Although, had we started our skincare when these freaking girls, they're at like slumber parties doing full skincare regimens at 12 years old. And let me tell you, if I had gotten in on skincare that early,
I'm thinking that like once they get to like high school and like clubs, they're gonna be like, they're gonna have the makeup remover towel that's like right next to their bed seat so they don't wake up with like their eyelash.
The one crusty eye.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I forgot to take off my makeup again. Like, this will bite me later. And then,
well, we didn't forget. We passed out.
It's part of the forgetfulness.
It's a little different than forgetting.
It's part of it. You had pizza, some chocolate, you had your makeup on, you fell asleep.
It was the whole thing. Well, all I can hope for is better for the next generation of girls. So good for you guys, but don't forget that we're the originals and we're slaying, and that's a fact, says us. So
says us.
Let's go.
So we have a pretty cool topic today that I think a lot of people will be interested in. But kind of how I wanted to lay the groundwork for this is no matter what, I think that, or no matter what, one of the most common questions that I get is like how you stay motivated. And this has obviously come to the forefront with like how do you stay motivated being 8 months pregnant and still and still getting to the gym. And I was trying to think of a really great answer for that. And it always comes with backups to what the problem is, because you don't have the same thing every single day. You don't have the same thing that like either keeps you motivated or demotivates you, or you don't just have one thing when it comes to fitness. You really have, if you're going to make this a part of your life and you're going to make this a successful part of your life for the rest of your life, you really need to have layers to keeping it in place.
Well,
And
imagine if your major motivation what for getting to the gym was having a flat belly.
that was one of the
How's that going?
It's really taking a turn. Imagine. And that's why we've said this so many different times about having aesthetic goals. And I know people will decide what's important for them, and I'm still going to get behind that. But what we always have to come back to is the importance of ourselves and how we feel, because no matter what, your physical appearance is going to change, your body is going to change over time, but what you really have is the opportunity and the honor to live through this life and live this life to its fullest and maintain your health. And that is just always going to be so much more important than anything that you could ever see in the mirror.
Well, when you're speaking about layers, I think that it's like that's a really sometimes that's a really hard thing for people to get behind. But if you don't have the layers and your only goals are aesthetic and then you get pregnant,
Yeah.
your aesthetic goal goes away. The flat belly is no longer a possibility, or the like not gaining weight is no longer a possibility, right? Pregnancy is just like a funny example of this, but it's
Yeah.
not the only one. There's always going to be these seasons in which you're changing, and like no matter how much you work out, like you still got that crepey skin creeping in, and no matter how much you work out, like there's always going to be these aesthetic things that are changing and aging and maybe just not gonna be ideal. But having those layers behind that, saying like, yes, I go to the gym, there is an aesthetic layer, right? But then there's also like a freedom of movement layer where like I want to be able to do anything that comes my way. If someone says, hey, let's go run a 5K, I want to be able to do it, and I don't want to have to say, oh geez, like that's way outside the possibilities for me. um so, having those layers I think is really important. But I think where we get caught up in creating these layers
Yes.
is the complete overcomplication of fitness as a whole. It's just we're making it so much harder than it actually needs to be.
Ex That's exactly where I wanted to go with it, because I think that when you step back and you see it from the outside and you say like, but how are you doing this? Like, how are you still, getting to the gym, and how are you still doing all of these things? Like, that's from a mindset of overcomplicating fitness, and we want to simplify it for you today. And I understand that there are different ways that we can overcomplicate fitness and overcomplicate our mindset into getting movement into living our happiest, healthiest life. So we're going to talk about different ways that you do that. But I first want to, start with, this is very common. It's one of the main reasons why people don't start, never start, start, stop their fitness journey so many times throughout their life because these fads are in no short supply to be able to feed on the insecurities of overcomplicating fitness. And they come up, man, the fitness industry is like a $60 billion industry. It's a wild industry that feeds on um, some of our most basic insecurities, some of the things that we want the most. And it feeds on this whole idea that you really need to complicate your way into the aesthetics that you're looking for, and you really need to complicate your way into health. And you
Well,
don't.
it's really no wonder that it's being overcomplicated by the industry because here's the fact, simple doesn't sell.
No.
It's never sold because the simplest answer is just to move, but that isn't going to sell. So overcomplicating something is always going to sell. And, if you want an example of this, you can simply just Google what is the best workout. You will have 100 things to buy, and none of them will say like, hey, really just doing the basics is what you want to do, because that isn't going to sell you anything. There's going to be the best workout, there's going to be the fat burner workout, there's going to be the booty workout, there's going to be the flat abs workout, and all of those are going to be the best possible way to get you where you want to go. But the fact is it doesn't need to be that complicated. It's
Mm-mm.
never needed to be that complicated. And I think that for most of us, this is not rocket science, and trying to make it into rocket science is making it inaccessible for so many people. I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't understand so many of the intricacies of what the human body does on a daily basis. But I don't need to, because that's just overcomplicating it. I just need to
Mm,
move.
mm, mhm. Now, one of the things that is a baseline for movement is just that science has proven this over and over again, that the human body and the way that it functions is ultimately its potential is only one aspect has remained unchanged over the course of the centuries. Exercise is vital to your health. It's it's not it's not about aesthetics, but exercise is vital to your health. So when we are breaking down exercise and movement, that's where we really need to start with the idea of like I in order to achieve health. Now we're talking about health. This is a health and fitness podcast. We're not talking about the quickest way to lose 10 pounds. We're not talking about how to get the booty that you deserve. I don't know. But
Deserve it.
you deserve it. But we're talking about health, and that's what's going to be the baseline for all of these things because that is like genuinely the most anyone who's had that shaken at any moment in their life, or you will, or the people around you, you'll understand the importance of it, that nothing else matters except your health and the health of the people around you. So when it comes to some of these barriers that we're going to talk about, having that as the backdrop is really the most important thing because all of the barriers that come into place of like I need to over research this. I just don't have time. I just I need to wait till this next season. All of those things genuinely don't fucking matter if you don't have your health.
It doesn't matter. It's never mattered. And that really has to ring home if you're gonna make this a part of your everyday life. If you really do want it to stick, that has to ring home. And I really think, you know, there's only one thing that is not disputed in all the hundreds of years of research that we've done on health and fitness, and that is that exercise is vital to health. That's never been disputed. There's not one single person out there in the health, and you can have someone saying literally anything in the health and fitness industry. Like there is no shortage of backdoor ways to do this thing or that thing. But there is not a single person out there that disagrees with the statement that exercise is vital to your health. So if we know this, then it just is that simple. That's the end of the sentence. Like, exercise is vital to your health. So if you would like to make health a priority, you must exercise. And if it just ends right there, and we don't go into all of the other like shitty ways in which we overcomplicate stuff, then all of a sudden it becomes a priority and something that we're going to work towards every day. And I think that what we want to do with this podcast is help you and all of us to recognize some of the overcomplications that we might be putting into our fitness inadvertently, and just bring it back to the basics and say, like, hey, is that really a cause for you not getting in a workout today? Or could we reframe this, and could we make this really stick?
Yeah. And viewing some of these different seasons as the opportunity that it is with your health and fitness. This wasn't the season that I'm currently in, could have been an opportunity to take a break almost, or like move away from health when I was like, this is the most, for me, like a really important time. Am I getting better as an athlete per se right now? I genuinely would argue yes, because athletic maturity is a really important thing. And using a season of your life to reframe that into whatever it is to work for you. So say you've taken maybe a year off of fitness, and you could go back into the gym with two different mindsets. You could go back into the gym with shame. I'm such a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. This kind of like rhetoric that you have going on in your mind, telling you that the past has made you somehow like not good today, even though today is the day you're starting and you're thinking about the person that you'd want to be. Or you could come in with a different mindset of, I have this opportunity to start almost fresh, and I'm super excited about that opportunity and the opportunity to build and see what I can do over the next couple of days, over the next month, over the next year. And that's what I'm leaning into, is being the person that I want to see in a year. Those mindsets are the same person starting at the same, spot in that journey, but with two different mindsets. And that's why I really like when we talk about some of these things, and where these mindsets come from, like overcomplicating things. I think shame has to be part of that conversation, because it's riddled into so much of our thinking surrounding not only our bodies, but our mindset around how we go about incorporating movement into our everyday life. And that shame can look different too. That shame can look like, well, me making time for my movement takes away from time with my family. I'm such a bad mom. I'm such a bad whatever partner. That's just shame in a different, just put on a different hat. That bitch put on a different hat.
We
And
know you.
we know who you are. And your idea of being a good person or a good mom or whatever goes into this. Well, then I won't make time for my health. Mm. If you are not making time for your health, then you're not actually making time for your family.
It's really just about that, isn't it? About time. It's about the amount of time we get to be here and how that time gets to be spent. Um, it's I categorized the overcomplicating into like three basic categories. But now that you say that, I'm like, oh shit, these are just all shame.
Yeah.
Oh man. Like, it's intertwined in literally all three. And the three categories of people are very different, and they go about overcomplicating it in very different ways. But really, the backdrop of all of them is just shame. So yeah, we gotta really Gotta really throw that bitch out the door. She's been at the
We gotta
party too
unpack her.
long.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about three different ways in which you could be overcomplicating your fitness and sort of how we can get you past those and working more at kicking shame out of the party. Um, a sign you could be overcomplicating your fitness. Number one, do you often find yourself thwarted by fitness or movement with the backdrop of that it's not going to be hard enough or difficult enough? What I mean by this is like, okay, let's take an example. I was thinking of going for a walk today. And I wanted to really get, a walk in. But that's not, I can't really count that as my workout. That's not really fitness. That's not hard. I'm not sweating enough. I wasn't weight training. So it's that's not really good enough. So why even do it?
Mhm.
Um,
You'll also look for evidence to back this up. You'll look for ways that on the internet to tell you that walking is not a form of fitness, it's just general movement. You'll look for ways to to back up the thing that you're thinking to overcomplicate it. And the internet will give you exactly that. Anything
oh
that you're
yeah, they love
looking
to.
for out there, you'll find it for sure. And that's why so much of our this backdrop of ways we're going to have ready responses to some of these thoughts is going to be really important for you, because let some of these responses that are not riddled in shame be louder than the evidence you're looking to back up your shameful mindset on the internet.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
It is,
Everyone's
but
screaming, "Please
mm,
be shameful."
they
And
really are.
so the idea that it's not gonna be hard enough, that can look a whole bunch of different ways. It can also look like, um, I can't get to the gym tonight. Like, I don't have time to get to the physical place of the gym. And if I can't get there, I'm not gonna have access to my equipment, so it's not even gonna be I might as well just never mind. That's not gonna be I have to
It's
be at the
not worth
place.
it.
It's not worth it. Okay, I'm not worth it. Just change that mindset. I'm not worth it is what you're actually saying.
Mhm.
Or, and this is probably the one I see the most, is that people are not in a space where they can undergo an intense workout right now. They are too tired, they are too stressed, they are too overworked. They are in a place with their body and their mind where they know they cannot give 100% at the gym. So instead, we're going to just, you know what? I'll just give zero then. And I'm not saying that there isn't a space for rest days, and I'm not saying there isn't a space for rest in general, right? But what I'm saying is this idea that either I'm going to be 100 or I'm going to be zero. And that's only two things. What that is essentially doing is just overcomplicating fitness to a place where it's not even getting done if it's not the hardest workout ever.
I'm so glad. So Rachel had written this down before we had chatted, and it was so funny when I read it because I had this discussion with a girl who came to the gym yesterday as I was leaving, and she was there and still doing this shameful thing because she had I know she had been a little bit sick. She was on the bike, and I was kind of like leaving as she was like, being on the bike, and I said like, "You're going to have a great workout," whatever, and she said like, "I just like I suck so much. Like I don't know, I might just be on the bike today." And I said like, "I'm so proud of you for being here. Getting some movement on the bike is probably the perfect movement for you today." And I've had other conversations with her about this because um a couple weeks ago she couldn't do muscle ups in a workout, and I know she has them, but she couldn't do them. She had been sick. She was like, "I'm just like failing right now." And I said, "You're not failing right now. you're here, you're getting movement in that feels good and right today. That doesn't mean this movement is gone. It doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean that because you didn't get the best workout you could possibly get today, that wasn't the body that showed up. It was the best workout that you could possibly get today. It was, because this is the body that came in today with everything that you want to ignore when you get to the gym. The fact that you've been sick or you're stressed at work or you haven't had much sleep, all of these things are very real. But the fact is that you are making time. You showed up, you came in, and whatever movement that you could get in today is good, great enough, perfect. Like that's the movement you could get in is absolutely perfect for meeting your body where you're at. We don't have to be like, either I get the best workout ever or I get none at all. There has definitely been days, especially when I was feeling really, really sick in my pregnancy, that I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. And I know it's not, I almost like went in like feeling like, are you just conceding? Like, I know this is not gonna be a great day. I just feel very sick, but I know that I'll feel better if I move. So I'm just going to show up, and like I might even, I subbed out a ton of things for like even like some stretching things in a workout. Like I remember one time I put in inchworms in a workout because that's what we needed that day. But I'm here and I'm working through it. And I just want to say, like, for those people that are walking in with the like, well, I'm too tired, I'm not going to have a great day, that I just shouldn't go at all. No, 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 dear. You just go and you just give the best that you can that day. And your reward to yourself, your language to yourself is, I'm so thankful that I was able to get to move today. That was the best that I could do. And I did gain a lot because I kept it in my routine. I got some movement in, and that was perfect.
You kept it in your routine and you got movement in. Whether you were sweating buckets or whether you were barely breaking a sweat, you moved. And science says that is making you healthier, more likely to live longer, and more likely to live with freedom of movement. Like, that's it. Whether however much you sweat that day is not part of the equation. So it is a win every single day that you get there. So if you're a person that finds yourself overcomplicating via the it's not hard enough, or it's not going to be my best workout, just maybe change around that mindset and find the shame in there, because it's riddled all in the intertwined and all in that
If you're
messaging
not good enough, yeah.
of you're not good enough. Exactly. Um, the second category of people that may or may not be overcomplicating their fitness to a point of not getting it done, which is that's the whole point of this, right? Once you overcomplicate something, it stops it altogether. And that's what we're trying to like remove that roadblock of the overcomplication. If you find yourself a person who is going to put fitness in when dot dot dot. So this is me. When this other area of my life gets under control, that's when I'm gonna start working out.
It's the future teller. That's what I called
The
it. That's what I call this type of like mindset or person, is the future teller. They're waiting for this future self that's gonna come after
can't wait to meet
every.
her.
I can't wait to
She's
meet her.
gonna be so much better than this one. My God, this one really sucks ass. But that future me, oh, she's gonna have her life together. She's gonna be doing deep conditioning treatments, drinking all of her water for sure.
Smoothies.
I love
Smoothies.
her.
I
I
love
love
her.
her. I want to be friends with her. Do you know about Group Friday?
Do you know about our biggest event of the year? Group Friday is early access to Black Friday, and we have some how do we keep doing it bigger? I don't even know.
Every year we come so correct. Cozy McCozy, okay? Cozy on 10. We've got fleece up the wazoo this year. You are gonna be so fleeced up, you don't even know. We've got fleece on discount. We've got new colors of fleece. We've got everything to keep you cozy, and that doesn't even start getting into the new drops we have, new legging patterns, free get I
Oh,
won't, I can't, I
well,
say no more.
our community is also voting on our free gifts because we want you guys to be able to have a say in Group Friday. It's all about you guys. So if you aren't already in our community, definitely get in there because you're being heard loud and clear. But Group Friday is coming, so be ready.
Friday, November 1st. Get to constantlyvariedgear.com.
See, this the future teller is difficult because we always have plans to be better, but we are not putting those plans in place to be that person today, right now. And that's really where the difficulty starts because your future self counts on you right now. It counts on you today. And there's only one way to get to that future self is by doing the things today. So when it comes to this future teller, one thing that I always want you to keep in mind is that, like, and we'll tell you kind of some different ways that that looks like. But there's the next season has stuff too.
Ooh,
It
here's
doesn't
the
stop.
bad news. Like all your kids, like sport, like huge sports travel things that are going on right now
I'll
in
have
the
time
next
after.
season. Yeah, after that, after this crazy baseball season, right? I'm gonna have time. Guess what? There's gonna be another thing
You don't know
because
what it
that
is yet.
you don't even know. It could be worse than travel baseball. I don't think there's anything worse than travel baseball, but it could be. And here's the problem. I'm going to start working out when this season of my life is different. Just invites the fact that we can't fit something into your life at this point. If it can't go there, it's not going to go in the next place or in the next place or in the next place. The whole point, and when people say like, well, it's a lifestyle and you got to fit it into, that means at every season, right? And it's not going to look the same at every season, and it's not going to be with the same frequency. I'm going to say you're going to work out 5 days a week when you're retired, and also 5 days a week when you're, I mean, that may be, but like we're leaving room for seasons of your life, but we're never saying that the fitness is or the movement is going to start when, because it has to fit in now. And I also want to speak to the people in that same future telling is I'm going to start working out when I get on a diet, when I lose some weight, on this arbitrary fill in the blank date, New Year's, on Monday, on and that all fits into the same excuse. I don't want to call it excuse. It fits into the
Rationale.
same rationale and mindset of overcomplicating via shame. So, I really want to start working out, but I got to find the right gym. I got to get on this perfect diet. I got to over research this to death, and I got to do it when my life is much easier. All of these fit in the same bucket of just not right now, probably later. And you're overcomplicating it, sis.
You're overcomplicating it and you're causing your future telling causes a lot of anxiety.
Oh, the biggest trick therapists give when people have trouble with their anxiety is to stay in the right now. Try to stay in right now. We're not going forward, we're not going backwards. We're staying right now because you're so right. The anxiety that's induced with trying to tell what's going to happen in the future is just, it gets wild.
And I really feel that with the future teller, they tend to, when they have this arbitrary start date or this diet, they tend to be those people who go in and they go really hard for a second and then they crash really badly as well, because like that future telling has caused so much buildup and anxiety to this thing that is really difficult and impossible to sustain. So when it comes to thinking about your future self and thinking like, well, what am I supposed to do, Kelsey? Like not think about the next season or not think about, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is bring it back to the here and now and say like, well, if that is my goal to be that person, I know that what can I do right now today to put me a step closer to being that. And that has to look like, I'm telling you this from experience, that has to look like I will do any type of movement today to get that into my routine and to get that started, because getting started is better than anything else.
It's so true. I mean, the the crazy work thing, well, you know what? Maybe we just get in some squats at lunch. The crazy kids schedules, maybe you're walking around the football field during practice and just doing some laps. You could still watch, you're just walking around. It genuinely looks like anything, and I'm keyword anything that will get you closer to your goal. So the only thing that doesn't is inaction. That's the only thing. Everything else gets you closer. Yeah, it's going to be at different speeds, but that everything else is moving you forward, and inaction is the only thing that's not. So, just thinking of it like that. And the third person that I want to talk to with regards to overcomplicating their fitness is the I love this person because they're type A. They want everything the way they want it. They want it planned perfectly. They want the path of least resistance. They're really like maximizers, right? Because they're saying like, well, I want to do this the best way possible. Yeah, sure, sure. However, if we spend all of our time finding the best way possible and then none of the time actually doing the best way possible, or if the best way possible is not a way that speaks to you personally,
Is attainable, honestly.
the best kind of exercise, we've said this so many times, the best kind of exercise is the one that you will do. The best kind of workouts are the ones that you enjoy. The best the best gym or place to work out is the one that you'll actually go to. No matter what, is there going to be scientifically superior ways to get here, there, or another place? Yes, but none of them matter if they're not for you. So I would encourage everybody who kind of does that, like overcomplicating by like trying to find the best way. Or, well, ways that this can look. My body goals are a flat belly. So I need to find a workout program that is perfect for getting a flat belly. Or alternatively, we could just start a workout, and even if it's not geared exactly towards that goal, we haven't spent all the time researching it and none of the time actually doing it.
I think that specific example too is an interesting one, because there's, again, like you can Google and find so much that's going to back up like, let me give you the best arm workout, the best leg workout, the best thing that you can do for a flat belly. And that will hinder a lot of your fitness, and it's just a lot of that information is not actually factual.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even going to go into that, but yeah, like first of all, a million influencers telling you what to do um, is just TMI, and it's one of the biggest ways in which we can overcomplicate things. And Also, I want to speak to the people who are, putting that arbitrary event in. I want to look good by.
Oh, I know.
Um my wedding day, I have this birthday, this cruise that I'm going on, my 40th birthday. I want to get to where I'm going by then. Because that is when we start getting into the like best and fastest way.
Yes.
And the best and fastest way isn't the most sustainable way. And so that
And
is
it's often
responsible.
hurting you. It's often
Yeah.
detrimental to your metabolic health, your basic metabolic function. The crash diets are going to hurt you in the future. All of that kind of like, I'm going to just hit exercise so hard before this event and then I'm going to burn myself out, totally drop off. That's all hurting your future self.
It's so tough to see because it's like we have these things and they are important and they are markers in our life, and we want to say like, this is the person that I want to be at that marker, right? And it's not a bad practice. However, when we're talking about it with fitness or dieting or nutrition or whatever, we have to think about the person that's one day after that day too, right? Like, and if we're doing all of this harm to our metabolic health, if we're burning ourselves out and making ourselves hate exercise and putting it into like this negative mind frame, and um these are things that don't help you at one day after that event. And it's part of overcomplicating it, but also it's part of the shame of, you know, I have to be this person for this event so that other people can see that I've achieved something. And we have to just always bring it back to like, this has got to be something that we're doing forever.
And think about her though. Think about the person at the end of that journey that did those like crash diets to get to this date, that did all of the like, that isn't feeling. I really want you to picture who that person is because 9 times out of 10 when people have done this, I'm going to tell you this because I've seen it happen a million times. The person that shows up that day has been so restricted and so miserable and so unable to enjoy whatever this life event that actually is really important, that's really a milestone. And they're living in this obsession to look a certain way for it that they miss the actual event. You miss the thing that's really important. And I just want you to kind of like open your scope a little bit wider than what she looks like that day to how she feels that day. Because that's what's really important. Because what you're going to remember is how you felt that day.
Oh, that cut me deep.
I
That cut me deep, man.
got me deep. I was trying to think of, for when you're thinking about how you can help your future self, think about like what are some of the actions, what does she do on a daily basis that really makes her the person that you want to be, how does she feel, and what you want to replicate is how you can feel today. Like, do you want to feel like shameful and restricted and just worn out? Like, or do you want to feel, like you've got some good movement in, you feel good about it. You have your inner dialogue is working in the direction that you'd like it to. Are you feeling proud of yourself? Can you put some language in there that shows that you are proud of what you accomplished today? Because those are really the actions of the person that you want to see.
And none of those are achieved by Googling the best workout and then doing that every day.
No, and the thing that's really like just such a like caveat side note to some of those is just like though they just like spot training doesn't exist. So all of those are a lie. So when you look at the things that are like this is going to burn the most belly fat, you're just buying into the lie over and over for the results that you're not going to achieve. So it's like that's a level of overcomplicating when like what we really need to do is get some purposeful movement in. Like, that's what we really need to do. We don't need to have the best, like, internet exercise is gonna burn this whatever somebody made up. It's not that. It's how can we get in some purposeful movement today that is going to make me feel good and is going to lead to, like, feeling my body well. Like, these are all they build on each other. They're not working in a vacuum.
That's so true. So we've talked about some of the ways in which we might be overcomplicating things. Let's get into some of the ways we can thwart that. Right? We can say, "I see myself there." I've saw myself in several of those,
Yeah.
several of those.
You don't have to just
Um,
be one.
no, no,
Because
I've got
different.
lots of shame. Shame over here, shame over there. But yeah, it really you can see yourself in different days of like, oh, that's how I overcomplicated it on that day. Oh, that's how I overcomplicated. Look at me. I'm multifaceted. I can overcomplicate it in so many ways. But most of them lead to not doing the thing. So,
Well, that's why when we started out and saying like what's your motivation? How do you keep this going? That's why you have layers because like your what shows up on a daily basis, like your response is different. So we want to give you some of these different responses for whoever shows up that and if you said like I'm just one of those, that's totally fine too. But for me, I know my response to how I'm feeling that day is different based on this thought that comes in. Okay, your thoughts are not truths, they're not facts, first of all. So the thought that, or the dialogue that comes in for that day, I want you to be able to meet it with where you're at. So one of the ones is just remind yourself that not all movement um that all movement gets you closer to health and fit in your health and fitness goals. Not every day should be like the most hard or the most intense workout. Every movement gets you closer to your health and fitness goals because this isn't just like if you are intense every single day, you are the best at fitness. You're not, first
you're
of all.
not. Yeah, that I mean, that's one thing, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
But yes, we're counting everything and we're being proud of every effort. And just because it's not sweating buckets, just because you didn't PR and lift the most weight ever that you've ever done in your life, just because you weren't able to run the full mile, none of that negates the fact that fitness happened, and when fitness happens, you get closer to living longer, healthier, and more vibrantly.
So when you're at the gym and you say, it's the onlys that I hear at this point. I want you to, even if it feels forced or if it feels like this is not quite as authentic as you want to be, I want you to meet that with something that you're proud of that you did today because like it is somewhere in there because you are a little bit proud and it's okay to admit that, ladies who are afraid of boasting or having some confidence, because society doesn't want you to. But I want you to have an answer for her. Those are the doubt sisters. They come in, they want to shame you. But I want you to have an answer that says something positive of the movement that you got in today. You're lucky that you did get in some movement today, or you had the opportunity to get in some movement today, and that's a great step.
If you are being, um, if your overcomplication is coming in the form of, well, I'm not seeing enough progress, let's say, I'm not losing any weight. So what's the point of this? I just want to come back to the fact that most studies out there are showing that even if people do not lose a single pound after working out for X amount of time, that exercise has improved your health outcomes. So that is not our only marker. So if you find yourself having trouble getting there or overcomplicating in that form of like, I'm not seeing enough progress, um, we're talking about studies that are saying that general movement every day starves off things like Alzheimer's. I mean, These are the ways in which we are looking to live a more vibrant life till whenever the end date is. And so, like, putting it just on the one marker and saying, well, if I'm not losing, the fat right now, then it's not worth it. Is just really not it. And on that same note, I just wanted to say that, you know, the the average person over the course of their midlife is gaining 1 to 2 pounds a year. And that is due to a plethora of reasons. However, if you are going to the gym and you are not currently in a weight loss place where you're not seeing fat loss on a regular basis and you're saying that's a fail, the average person is gaining 1 to 2 pounds every year and then looking at themselves in 10 years and going, "Whoa, what happened here?" However, if you are one of those people that is going to keep exercise as a main factor in your life for all of those 10 years, you may not lose weight, but if you aren't gaining that 1 to 2 pounds per year, you're going to look at yourself in 10 years and see the same person. And that matters. So I don't want, when we're talking about like having those layers and stuff, if that loss is there for you and it's one of the layers and you know you need to do that for your health markers, awesome. But if you're plateauing right now and you're not seeing it, please do not negate that everything that you are doing is also preventing future weight gain, even if you're not seeing the weight loss right now.
It's such a great point because we don't have enough emphasis on that and realizing that that is the direction that we're going. You're each day getting, a day older, and this is the projection that you're going to. And if you are starving off of those, and you're starving off disease, and you're starving off of, and like I'm using that in not a way of like you're starving yourself. I'm using it in a way of like you are starving off these things that are working in a direction to be detrimental to your health. You're winning. You're winning. One of the things that I wanted to come back for those who are going to shame themselves around some of the other responsibilities or some of the other duties, and this is a lot for moms that we've seen over and over, where moms tend to think about. It's funny because you see all these videos or like basic things like a shower or like like going to the bathroom by yourself as like this like luxury when it's just like basic self-care. And really the gym has fallen into this category for a lot of women. And I want to come back to that why a little bit and shift it away from being this shameful thing of like you're selfish to a lot of people say they'd die for their kids, but would you live for them? And living for them is taking care of yourself. They want you to live. You want to live. You want to be the best version of yourself, if not for you, for your kids. And how you do that is to maintain your health. There's absolutely no question about that. So if you can't rationalize that in a way of like historically the gym has been centered around aesthetics, and that's not important to me as a parent. The truth is getting movement in is centered around your health, and you're not going to be able to live for your kids if you don't make health a priority in your life. You're not helpful to them at all. So I want to take that like that why back, reel it in to where it really should be, in a way of like, if I do this for me, I do this for you, I do this for us. And that has been one of the things that has kind of taken over in my mindset when things have felt like, sometimes it's just hard. You're tired, you're sick. Like it's I do this for you, I do this for me, I do this for us because I want to give us the best opportunity to have a healthy pregnancy, have a healthy life. I'm going to do those things. I'm going to put those in place because that's my responsibility.
Oh man, that one cut me deep too. All the moms were like, "Oh God, we know." Would you would die for your kids, but would you live for them? And it's a question that each person, where they're at in their journey, needs to ask themselves, because um, it's not selfish, it's not vain,
It's
it's
so
not.
hard to fight that language, that messaging.
It's just, especially for women, it's really hard to fight that messaging, because we've always just been told you go to the gym to look good. And if you say, like, well, my top priority isn't looking good, my top priority is being a wonderful mom, then it's like, well, then you don't go to the gym.
That's exactly what it is. And it's such a conundrum that you're sitting in because, like, how you feel, what you can contribute, your patience is, all of these things, you can see them, but you don't have a lot of times, and you have to build this up, and it takes years. And I totally get that. You have to build up the confidence behind that response to be able to say no. And you know what? You can think that's selfish. Do you?
Do
Do you?
you?
Doesn't fucking matter to me because at
Oh,
the
that's
end of
why
the
you go
day,
to the gym? Oh, that's a shame. That's not why I
it's
go.
that's not why I go, because like at the end of the day, we're coming back to the fact that health is the most important thing, and your actions have to be behind that. So I have to say, like, no, health is is the most important thing, and these are the pieces that I put in place. So I have to live to that because that is the person that I want to show my kids. That's the person that I want to be. That's the person I want to show up as, because I know that I'll have more energy, I'll have more patience, and I'll be able to live longer. I'll be able to be more effective for them. Like, I know these things, and you're not going to be able to shame me into another dialogue that says otherwise.
That says I'm doing it for my sculpted booty.
Don't care.
Maybe, maybe, maybe. So what? It's a side effect.
For my flat belly, well, that went out the door. So, like, I don't care. Like, and you got a layer to that.
I got another layer, another one. And last but not least, I just want to say, if you find yourself just waiting for a time, waiting, please start today. Please start today. All of the waiting is just some version of shame and overcomplication, and it doesn't need to be there. We can start today with 10 air squats. We can start today with a walk around your neighborhood. We can start today with literally anything that fits, a
Stretching.
stretch before bedtime. We did an episode on stretching. It said that it has tremendous health and like muscular skeletal benefits, especially for people who do not work out. So it doesn't matter where you're starting from. All of these things can start right now, today. And if they can fit in a really, really busy and crazy season of your life, then it can fit anywhere. And that's when and that's, I'm just speaking to my busy people here
Yeah.
with the I'll start when I'm a little less busy. If it can fit in now, it can fit in anywhere. And so that's your challenge today, is just to do one thing today that is saying, I'm not going to overcomplicate this. I'm going to keep this as simple as I know in my heart it truly is. And it's just about this body needs to move in order to live on the planet longer. The end.
The end. I love that. I love that for us. We're not going to overcomplicate it. Guys, get in some movement today. Tell us what type of movement you got in, and maybe some dialogue that you changed, that you heard for yourself. Because even some of us who have been making fitness a part of our life for a very long time still have some of these thoughts when we get into the gym, or when we think about the gym, or when we think about starting something. They're still there, and we're still just working our way through having a ready-made response for them that works for us to keep us moving. So we love you.